Now, I want to introduce our guest speaker today. Some of you know Julie McKercher, and perhaps many of you not. But you know, we've been on this journey together here for quite a while, and we have amalgamated our two congregations into one faith community, and it's been an exciting journey, to say the least. And so, when I think of some of what has transpired, I know that one of the things that we did some time ago was that we decided we wanted to go and share with our community leaders and invite them to talk with us about where the greatest needs might be in our community. And I know that it was Ellie and Kathy and I went to see Eli Elshantiri, our counselor here for the city of Ottawa, and we spent an hour and a half a very interesting discussion with him about where we were going and how we might achieve this. And Julie's name came up. And so at the end of that meeting, we eventually found our way to her door at the Western Ottawa Community Resource Center. That's quite a handle. That's a non-governmental organization. It's an NGO. I was under the impression that it was with the city, but it really is. They're a standalone entity funded by a number of sources. So we began this journey together because what we were doing is that we were looking at how can we, in our fashioning a new identity together, how can we be more relevant to our local communities here, in what ways? And so we began a discussion about what ministry might look like in the 21st century for rural congregations. Now, Julie is a rural community developer, and there's something to be said for when the stars align. Timing is everything. And it just so happened that the Resource Center was making a push out into West Carleton, rural Ottawa, with a view to offering services. And at the same time, we were looking for ways and opportunities that we could open our doors to the broader community here to be of help to those who are not part of the faith community at all necessarily, but are people in need. And so this is where we've come. And we have been designated as a hub after a fairly lengthy consultation process with all of West Carleton. And so we have two hubs, one in Constance Bay, the Community Center, and one here at Bethel, St.Andrews in Baldwin Hall. And we're going to be offering services that she's going to be telling us about to seniors in our area. We're not necessarily close to downtown Ottawa where a lot of services are offered. So things are going to be happening here out of our space here that will make life much more livable and enhance the quality of life for our seniors. And Julie's going to talk as well. So Julie, I'm going to ask you to come. She has a presentation, as you can see. We've got her wired for sound. So, so we appreciate so much your coming and all of the help that you have been to us. And we're going to have a question and answer period afterwards. So jot down a few questions and should we please answer them. So over to you.
Thank you very much. You've stolen all of my thunder because my introduction was going to be,
Sorry about that.
It's okay. I know you talk for a living, so. First, can everybody hear me? Yes. Okay.
I'll drink to that.
The history is a short one, and yet in terms of community development, which usually takes a long time, this year has been incredible. Meeting Steve, meeting Monique Stone in Carp at the Anglican Church there, with a number of other stars that Steve referenced, aligning around senior support services and leadership at Western Ottawa Community Resource Centre, the fact that your congregations have come together in a year of transition, I feel like this is a really fortuitous coming together. I feel like the work that we're going to be doing in partnership with the congregation here is part of that transition and part of your ministry renewal. And you're the first church to come to us. And now there's a long list of other churches that are also coming to us through EDGE, which is the United Church Ministry Renewal Group. They're all interested. They're very excited about what you're doing here, what Stephen's done, and what some of the other churches are doing. Personally, I am a big fan of unusual partnerships. A lot of my colleagues will not work with faith communities. I don't know why, and it doesn't matter why. Here, it makes a really big difference. Speaking rurally, this is where the Army volunteers are, this is where the care is, this is where community really comes alive in a lot of ways. So I'm just going to apologize because I feel so at home here, and I recognize so many of you, and it's so welcoming, and Baldwin Hall is so beautiful, and my presentation is so stark. But the information is good.
Absolutely.
And so I may go into a bit of my old school teacher mode, and I apologize because that's not really the approach I want to take, but it's the approach I'm going to take because the information is pretty important. So here we go. All right, so what I'm going to do is take you through a bit of what is Western Ottawa CRC, or WOCRC for short, because that's where we go, because Western Ottawa is a mouthful. What do we do? How long have we been around? Why don't you know about us? Those are all really good questions. We started this year. When we worked rurally as WOCRC, it was me working rurally. So I've done a lot of work with the food bank. I was instrumental in having them move to the Kinburn site and to get them their funding to outfit their new place, for example. The community gardens in Constance Bay, community gardens in Park, that was work that I was doing with some of the other communities. I've done similar work in Richmond. I've been in this position for 7 years. So the work that I've done here has been about community building and not the partnership development like we're doing now. The change has happened with our leadership, big shift to healthcare. And I'll talk about why that is in a minute. But my manager, who's not here today, has been an incredible mover and shaker and really pushing our organization to do more for the community and with the community. And I couldn't have asked for a more important person to help push this agenda a little bit. So this is the mothership. We are located in Canada, at around the Castle Frank and Hazeldean area. At that site, we offer a number of services. Most popular, most obvious services are our early years center for children and our adult day program for seniors who are suffering with dementia as a respite program. Okay, here we go. All right, I can look at it. Our vision. So our vision has always been to provide access to our communities to a number of services. Now, we haven't always done that extremely well, so this is our year to make a recompense. We are doing our very best with what we call a health equity lens to make sure that all of our communities have access to services. Okay. Our mission is to partner with others to develop, provide, and coordinate accessible services in health and social services for all members of our communities. Just some, I have to do this. Empowerment, equity, partnership, and innovation are our guiding beliefs. We're wading a little bit into the innovation. It's one of those tough ones to wade into when you're talking about community support services. My practice backwards?
And you have the computer.
Okay. Where do I have to point it to? Point it to the computer. Okay. Right. All right. So Western Ottawa Community Resource Centre is one of 14 in the city of Ottawa. So we all provide services to a very specific geographical region in the city of Ottawa. Western Ottawa happens to service Nepean, parts of Nepean, parts of rural Lorne, Canada, and West Carleton. That said, one of the interesting things about working in the city of Ottawa and being bound by city of Ottawa geographical boundaries is that doesn't apply to healthcare. So having stepped into working with healthcare very recently, our boundaries are a little bit more all the way to Renfrew. So it's a little bit of a bigger area and probably extends into Almont and into Arnprior, sort of that bigger region. And that is under, if anybody's familiar, and I don't want to give you a whole bunch of jargon, but under the Champlain Health region. We are focused very much on getting health dollars, which will allow us to not be bound by the City of Ottawa geographical restrictions, because I don't ever want to turn anybody away because they live in Arnprior or because they live in Renfrew if they're accessing services. It's not part of offering a barrier-free service, which is what we're striving to do. All right, here we go. All right, very quickly, what we offer at Western Ottawa is a cradle-to-grave services. Historically, this is what we've done, based on funding, and I'll talk about funding in a minute. So children's programs, we actually do have an early years center on site at the mothership. We also have an early years center in Carp, in the old Memorial Hall, for our rural parents. We offer workshops for parents and caregivers of children, and school-age programs. A very popular one is bully prevention, which you may or may not have heard of. We offer youth programming, parent education workshops, community development, which is what I do, and information and referral services, as well as counseling. Our community support programs. Now this is a really exciting, it doesn't look exciting, but it is exciting. We offer caregiver support, day services, foot care services, Meals on Wheels, transportation, Diners Club, and home health and maintenance. Now, this year, so when we were talking about Stars Aligning, before I met, I want to tell you Reverend more, but I also want to tell you Steve.
I know.
Okay. So when I met Steve, we had just happened to finish a big adult day program review. So adult day programming is for seniors with dementia. It provides caregivers with a place to leave their loved ones for a day so that they can go and do whatever they need to do. A very, very popular program in downtown Ottawa because it's accessible. Generally, we have parents being dropped off by their children at this program. There's a number of sites in Ottawa, all doing the same thing, all doing some various form of structured and non-structured day programming. We have partnered with Algonquin College as of last year in a very, very innovative, as I was saying, we're getting there, very innovative program to offer adult day programs. And inside the college, we have all of the students who are working in the various programs, from hospitality to palliative care, working inside the apartment space, which is a live space, so that if somebody's walking and they trip or their gait changes, an immediate feedback is given to our PSWs, our personal support workers, or to the hospital, or to the primary care responders, so that it's a live apartment, so that you can actually feel changes in the way people are operating. It also has given us a chance to work with the school to really change the way we are developing our students to work in community, because the age range of our communities, you may have noticed, is changing. So we need to address the number of seniors, the number of people who are requiring services. And we need to address it in a holistic way and not be prepared to stick everybody in a home, because that's not what's going to happen, right? We're going to stay in our communities, and that's the goal. So we're training young people to do this work and to want to do this work. So that's a very exciting innovation for us. And there are a few other great advances that we've had come our way as well. But caregiver support. So we partner with Alzheimer's Society to provide caregiver support for caregivers. So personal groups, not necessarily dropping off a loved one, but just coming in and saying, man, you know, I am struggling, I am really hurting, I'm really having a tough time. To give voice to some of those concerns. We provide the day services on site. We will be doing that, a little bit of that here. We arrange for foot care services, so we don't actually provide the foot care service, but we work with nurses who do provide the foot care service. Meals on Wheels is a program that many of you have heard of, providing meals to community. We are hoping to eventually open up a commercial kitchen out here and get Meals on Wheels really rolling through this community, excuse the pun, but really get it going in this community, because right now we can only offer frozen food, and that's not really good enough. So our objective is with these hubs to have a great community kitchen going and have the meals coming right out of the community and staying here. Transportation is something that we do really well in Canada. have two programs. We have a paid driver program, which means we have a van and we put a guy in it that we pay, and he does trips to shopping, to medical, to various sites, and it's every day. Or he will bring clients from their home into the adult day program. So that's one part of the program. The second half of the program is volunteer drivers. So anybody who wants to drive for somebody else can be one of our volunteer drivers, and they're compensated with their mileage. We have, I think, almost 200 drivers, 12 of which are out here, and they're not really working out here because we don't have a lot of clients who know about our services. So that's something that we need to work on. Diners Clubs, I've heard that there's a bit of an advertisement for Diners Clubs, so that's great. That is a service that we offer, and that, I believe, is just a fun luncheon where you are served a great meal. You have transportation provided, or you can, right? You can have transportation provided, and there's a workshop or musical entertainment, just some social time, which is actually extremely important in community building. And home health and maintenance. I will talk about that in a minute because it's actually pretty important for this congregation to know what we're talking about there. So new for 2016. This has been an incredible year for me. It's been an incredible year for Western Ottawa. It's been a great year for West Carleton. The hubs. As a result of the consultations, which I recognize my name, so I know that a lot of you have been out to the consultations on how to improve healthcare services out here. So as a result, there is a report. It's available. It's still in draft form because I don't know when to stop writing it. Because every time I decide to stop writing it, we say, well, you have to add what the task force is doing, and you have to add what the work groups are doing, and you have to make sure that everything is collected, and there does have to be a date where I make it available, and I will, I promise. But it's just a work in progress. We were amazed. There were almost 500 people who came to talk about what is needed to stay in West Carleton. What do you need as a senior or as a caregiver to help you stay in West Carleton? What do you need? And we heard things that I think we were surprised at. Number one, and I'll talk about the stats in a minute, but number one was home health maintenance. I need somebody to help me with small repairs around my house. That would allow me to stay in West Carleton. We thought, well, man, and we heard that over and over again. We thought, like, what do you do with that? Fast forward, I don't know, a couple of months. Patients First legislation is coming out. I think even there's a consultation tomorrow that I'm going to. And the language in the Patients First legislation is, you know what? Home health maintenance, that's actually healthcare. It's on the margins of healthcare, but it is healthcare. Because what it does is it allows a senior who is having trouble staying in their home to stay in their home longer, stay out of long-term care, or stay out of some other healthcare situation. So there's a bit of a lens, and what we call that in my sector, in our language, is social determinants of health. Basically, that means that there's a whole bunch of things that happen in a person's life, from income and ability to work, and ability to speak language, ability to go to school, getting transportation, making sure you have people in your life. Those are the social determinants of health. And it actually makes a difference in keeping people out of the healthcare system. So we were surprised to hear it, but then we also were not that surprised to hear it because we knew we could do something with it. And so we are, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So we also heard, yes, we need community support programs situated here because, hey, Western, we don't know who you are. Nobody recognizes the services that we offer. And that's fair. We have done a very bad job of offering services in West Carleton, and it's true for a lot of organizations that have rural catchments. It's pretty easy to work in urban and suburban areas. It's very easy to work in urban and suburban areas, and it's very cost-effective to work in urban and suburban areas. And we are not shy about saying that we haven't done great work out here. So we're now trying to make up for that by offering, at first glance, services out here for seniors. Caregiver support, we heard, very important, but we also heard a twist, and we were working with this as well. So many caregivers out here are spouses, and every time we tried to raise, are you a caregiver? People would say, I'm not a caregiver. I live with my husband or live with my wife, but I don't see myself as needing to get away or needing to put my loved ones somewhere. So that standard, the standard ADP program, standard adult leave program, which gives caregivers that respite, it's not going to work because people don't see themselves as needing to drop their people off. So we're working with that. We're working with how do we now provide a rural service that looks different, that meets those needs. Very challenging, but we're doing it, and it's all thanks to this consultation. We also were the recipients of almost $200,000 from HRSDC, the Human Resource Development. And I'm very sorry that I don't know the acronym to that particular department at this moment, but it is what it is. We received a very significant grant to help do some community work with seniors. So part of working in community, and this is why I'm here. This is the reason that I'm here. And I know you wanted me to tie this back, and it's hard because I'm not a minister, but I'm going to try. The reason we want to do work in communities with our community members is because that actually changes the experience of people's lives. Part of the biggest health factor that can be mitigated with support from community is the loneliness and isolation factor. It is actually more detrimental to people to be lonely, and their risk of death is higher than those people who are smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Which is kind of a crazy statistic when you think about it, because obviously our head goes to your physical health. What you've always done gives you a higher risk of death versus a lower risk of death. No, it's actually people in your life and social connections, and the church is important for that. But there's all those people out there who are not here. And they're not here for a lot of reasons. And they're not coming to us for a lot of reasons. And they're not going to their siblings or their next door neighbor for a lot of reasons. And my partner at the West Province Family Health Team, Dr. Bruce, would say, a lot of those people are awful to be with. Really hard to be with, right? There's a reason that they're not with other people. Doesn't mean they don't need it. It means that they're awful to be with. And that's just part of it. But we received this money to help sort of build on pastoral care. That was my original objective when I wrote the proposal, is to build up pastoral care to also deal with the mental health risks of being an older adult, being in the community. And I'm not an expert, so I'm not writing a curriculum. We've got a local college writing a curriculum, but we have this great plan to offer training to communities like yourself, and this is why the United Church is so interested in wanting to be at that meeting in a couple of weeks. And I know that they've contacted you, or they're going to. And I said, he's a great champion. He's a great champion for this work. They want to get their congregations engaged and taught and figuring out how to get to those people who are isolated and vulnerable, and how do we make those connections with people. Because healthcare will never make it out here. And all of the programs in the world are not going to come out here. You're still going to have to leave. So how do we make it better for the people who are here, knowing that all of those programs are going to still be out there? That's coming in spring of next year. Okay. So the very specific objectives of that project are to increase the ability of people to support isolated seniors, to strengthen the capacity of rural Ottawa seniors and community members in caring for one another, and to raise awareness of the existing supports by providing training and creating opportunities for reducing isolation. So even the government thinks it's important, so it must be important. So, just so you're aware, I know you mentioned that we were an NGO. We're a nonprofit organization. Our services are free, with the exception of fee-based services, which are strictly to cover the costs of the programs that we provide. Human Resources, Skills Development Canada, there it is. Ministry of Children and Youth Services, Ministry of Community and Social Services, Health and Long-Term Care, City of Ottawa, United Way, fundraising, the LIN as well, the Champlain LIN, the Local Health Integration Network, has also provided us with some significant money recently, and fundraising. My position was, for the longest time, funded by the United Way, and I am no longer beholden to the United Way. I am a permanent employee, but they've been very helpful. Our next job with the United Way is to look at how does Western Ottawa expand on our developmental services project with that is a gap in our service. So we are hoping to work with them again. All right, so how much time do I have? I don't want to take
Keep going.
Okay.
I'll let you know.
All right, so the new for 2016 is our hub here, and I'm sorry it's a bit grainy, but I didn't have a high resolution picture. So Bethel St.Andrews in Baldwin Hall we did a little site visit with all of my program people, and they couldn't believe how wonderful Baldwin Hall feels. Baldwin Hall feels like a living room. It feels wonderful to be in, with the kitchen and the light and the wood. It just feels very homey. So we're very, very excited to be working here in this community, in this space. Our other site is a little bit more, little different. In Constance Bay, we're working with the community association there to provide a secondary hub of services where we are going to test the waters and see what works. So that's the plan, is to take Bethel St. Andrews and Constance Bay, move our services in to this community from Western Ottawa and see how they work. This is a promise because I know that West Carleton has a history of having services pulled. We know that. So the objective here is to come in and stay in. So we are starting with 2 days here, 2 days there, and we're going to take the year and figure out what really needs to be done. We know senior services and services for older adults are absolutely number one, but we're not stopping there. We're going to bring all of our services. Each one of them is going to be in these 2 locations. It's just a matter of in what capacity. We don't know that yet. And this of course, speaks to the hidden needs in the rural community. I'm going to be back here in about a month with the multi-faith housing initiative, because one of the other things we heard when we were doing our consultations was there's no housing. There's no housing for seniors out here. And gosh, you're right. There are 7 units. The West Carleton has 7 units. That's just outside of Carp. I'm not talking about the hole in the ground that will be a number of very expensive sites. I'm talking about the little building that's off to the side. It is a hole in the ground, and it's going to be very expensive. So I'm not too far off. But the little building that is down the road from there on the other side of the house from Deca, 7 units of affordable housing. There is nowhere, and West Carleton's not alone in this. There are very, very, very few examples of affordable housing for seniors, or second stage housing, or shelters of any kind for people in rural communities. That's a bit of a gap, but also a bit of the experience of organizations locating their services downtown, all in one place. So you always have to leave your communities to access these services, which is not equitable. So I'll be back talking about that. The hidden needs, of course, so the housing and transportation. So part of transportation, I heard many stories. The most telling story I heard was of one family who the wife had just been diagnosed, the husband, who was the driver in the house, had been diagnosed with Parkinson's and could no longer drive. And she never drove. And she was 75, and they live out here somewhere. So, you know, the fact that you live out here, and as a rural person, you drive, right? You drive. That's what you do. You drive because you've always driven, and you know you do that, except for when you can't, and your kids don't live here. Suddenly you have people who have no choice but to either depend on the kindness of their neighbors or not go anywhere, and suddenly you are 40 kilometers from anywhere, right? You may as well be, you may as well be on the moon. I said that before, but you may as well be. So in that case, that family does not want to leave the community they're in. So what do? So we realize that transportation is a really big deal. We are moving our transportation system out here. It is not a service that has been used very much here in West Carleton, not our service anyway. So we're hoping to increase that, and I've got some really good news on that, which I'll share in a minute. Home supports, we again we heard that they are absent. Isolation is huge, and the provincial government is paying greater attention to keeping seniors in their home, assisting those who are caring for the challenged. Patients First legislation puts care of seniors in the community and out of hospitals. The idea is hopefully to reroute money from hospitals into community care. So why are we doing this? Anybody hear this story of this couple? Okay, so this couple living in Kentville have to live in separate homes because they don't have room. And I thought the other morning when I was listening to this, it's awful, right? And then I thought, yeah, but okay, so that's Joan and Ken. We all know Joan and Ken. And we all know somebody else who's gone through the challenges of having to put their loved one in a home. And all of the stress and awful feeling that comes with am I making the right decision about putting my parent or my sibling or my husband in a home. We all know these people. So this Ken and Joan here and Ken and Joan there. This is why we feel like this is important. This is not Western Ottawa coming out to make a buck. This is us making sure that these services are available to the community. I'm pointing it at the computer. Everybody wants to read about Ken and Joan. Okay. All right. So, because I can't tell you exactly what's going into these hubs, because I can't, because my job was to get us to putting things into the hub, and now I've sort of given that job of program development to our program developers, so I can't tell you what's going to go in, but I can tell you that we have pledged at Western Ottawa to start with this really, really big news. So the transportation fees right now, if you were to call Western Ottawa and say, I'm living in Fitzroy, I need to go to the general hospital, and then I need to be picked up and I need to go back to Fitzroy Harbor, it would cost you $90. Yeah, right? Okay, so that's my reaction too. When I started to do some research, I thought, holy cow. So not only can you not get paratranspo, but if you can't get your neighbor, you can't get your sister, you can't get your brother, and you have to rely on our service, $90. So if you call our prior and say, you know what, I can't afford that, what can you do? Now we do offer subsidies, so that's, I want to mention that. But if you were to call our prior and say, I really want to go to the general hospital and I live in Fitzroy, they're going to say, sure, we'll do that for you, and it's going to cost you $70. So, you know, it's not that big a difference. And so what we've done is, first of all, we recognize not a lot of people use our service. But now, and please don't call tomorrow and ask for this because I'll be in big trouble, but as soon as the official word comes out, everybody will know, it's going to be $9 to get anywhere out of here, which is amazing. I kind of did a little bit of a dance because I thought, so hold on, I said to my manager, so $9 to go out, $9 to come back in. What about internal, where you guys can't actually get paratranspo to go internal? So you can't get a ride from Fitzroy to the West Carleton Family Health Team from paratranspo. So what is it going to cost people to do that? $3 is the number that's being, yeah. So I'm so excited to be sharing that information because for me, this is a huge success that yeah, it just is. It just is what it is. We're also looking at doing the shuttle for the grocery shopping because right now OC Transpo does have a bus that goes from Dunrobin Meats into Carlingwood once or twice a week. Very low usage.
Goes to Carlingwood and goes to...
okay. Yeah, very low usage though, right? Extremely low usage. So we're looking at how we can provide that service on a more personal basis. So going into the communities and coming out and making it more of a, and maybe it's not Carling, but maybe it's something a little bit more local to Sobeys or to Food Basics in Canada or whatever, and that'll be determined by the community as well. We're also situating our paid driver and a van either here or at Constance Bay or at Kinburn, so that drives can be very, very easily accessed. So that's another. That's part of that is a little bit of advertising and promotion for us. Here we are. There's also pretty quick response for community members looking for that service. Okay. So we are committed to starting 2 days a week here at Bethel St.Andrews, 2 days a week in Constance Bay, so that's nearly full-time. And then coordination on site of the Meals on Wheels, Transportation, Diners Club, and home maintenance. Now the home maintenance is actually going to be largely provided by people you know very well. You hold dear in your heart. Walt is here. The men's ministry is, they kind of had this idea before we did to start to offer services to community members for very small light maintenance or a little bit bigger jobs, and to those seniors who are nervous about having people come to their door, a list of vetted local people, because that's another thing that we heard. Why not local? Why do we have to call Canada for this service, or why do we need to? I want local people. We heard it. So the men's ministries come together, and we've been working with them at Western Ottawa to get them insured. So that means that they are basically covered to go in and do some support around home maintenance. So that's us working in partnership with a small community group, and that's another success that I feel has really been an exciting advancement for this community as well. We will also have our community helpers coordinators. The community helpers is that program that I referenced, the $200,000 to increase capacity here. We will have them here. A volunteer coordinator will be here. Our service coordinator will be here so that people can access and have immediate response to what they need. So that means that on those 2 days, if somebody wants to come in and say, I have an idea, I don't want to volunteer to be a driver, I don't want to volunteer to do Meals on Wheels, but I want to volunteer to do this very specific thing. Because not everybody wants to drive, not everybody wants to spend 4 days a week volunteering, but maybe there's something that you do want to do, and she will work with you to make that happen. So, again, there's a little bit of work that needs to happen, but that's coming. So our partners right off the bat are Alzheimer's Society, and the Oasis is a program for caregivers supporting their family members with mental health issues. The Diabetes Screening Program and OPH, so Auto Public Health, potentially. That's a hope for us, but I'm not sure based on their restructuring that actually resulted in them not being here. So I don't know what's going to happen with that, but it's up there because I think it's a pretty sure bet. And then there's the Council on Aging. So those are our immediate partners. I don't want to take up too much more time, but I did want to say too, the interesting thing about doing the consultation was that the stats bear out a lot of what we heard. Now it's complicated. I don't want to go through every piece of this, but I did want to say, if you look at Fitzroy Harbour and the average distance to a CHRC, which is a community health and resource center, so that's usually resources and healthcare, you're 35 kilometers. And the average in the city of Ottawa is 7. So this being the city of Ottawa, we're trying to alleviate some of those numbers. So for Fitzroy Harbour, you're going to be 1 kilometer. So you guys are ahead of the crowd. Lucky folks. But your population, you can sort of see in Fitzroy Harbour, you're pretty high. You're pretty high above the 50-year-old mark. This is a stat that was borne out as well, was that a very, very high number of seniors are living in this community with their children and or living alone. So that was another reason that this community made a lot of sense. Another stat. Again, you guys know this. I don't need to tell you that you have no park and ride. I don't need to tell you that you're 40 kilometers away from mental health support. I don't need to tell you these things. But for me, when I was doing my research on how do we start to work with this community, it sure helps me to know that what people say is actually the experience. So in every single respect, and I didn't put up the child care, and I didn't put up any of the other stuff, but it's all the same. You are 40 kilometers away from everything. So, no, not anymore. Another interesting stat, though, just with respect to healthcare, is if you look at the number of the hospitalization rates for your community and the calls to ambulance, it's very, very, very high here. So that is another reason that we feel, working with the health team, that we can start to make some headway on who's going to the hospital. We don't want you going to hospital. So we need to work on that number, that 11,992. It's very high. So healthcare needs are a priority here. And then just for Walt, there you go. Look, major repairs needed. 74.5% of respondents need major repairs on their house. So again, very nice to see the stats reflected in what people are saying. And I'm just going to leave you with this. We are committed to staying in this community and working with this community. And I can't underscore the importance of that message for you. I know this is a lot of information, and there's tons, and I hope you have questions, and please ask. And if I don't know the answer, I will get the answer, or I will get the right person to answer you. We are here to provide service to this community with your help, hopefully, but we are here to work with you to make sure that other people in this community have access to the services they need. So it's we're trying to wrap around. That's what we're calling it. It's kind of a big hug for West Carleton in terms of the services that we're trying to offer. And because we're starting with senior services does not mean we're going to stop with senior services. We want to make sure that all members of your community have access to the different services that we provide. And if we don't provide it, we need to know that, and we need to make sure that those gaps get filled with something. So we're here, and I need to underscore that because you do have experienced so much loss in terms of services from this community over the years, and that probably won't stop. It changes every couple of years. But I'm going to say, like with OPH, with Ottawa Public Health pulling out, that was kind of a big deal. That access to that point of entry to the city it's a challenging one for me because I don't know who to talk to. So it's a bit of a thing.
A lot of information, some great things coming down the pike, huh? Aren't you pleased? Aren't you pleased, Paul? Right on. Questions? If you have questions now, please feel free.
When does the hub start?
November.
November?
Yep, and that's a soft launch in November. We will have a grand opening in 2017. So we'll be going along, and then we'll have sort of the big open house in January, maybe closer to April. I'm not sure exactly when that is, but we will be here in November. I've been promised by Christina. Yeah.
Julie, a few years ago, we used to have a program. It was Country Kitchen.
Yes.
It was a situation where we go around to the different churches and we prepare a meal, chop it up, and it was the excitement of being there and preparing a meal. Also, periodically, we had a visitor come in and give us a talk on whatever was very pertinent to us as a group. All of a sudden, that disappeared.
Yeah.
Now, I cannot understand why a program like that disappeared, because it was helping the area. It was helping the people who wanted to get out, do something, and enjoy the meal afterwards.
So that program was a volunteer-run program, and Gail is our volunteer, and she is working. So that's the challenge with keeping some of the volunteer programs up and running, is when our volunteer extraordinaires drop off. If people don't want to run the programs.
Secondary point. What happened was that all of a sudden I forgot who it was now, but it was a graduate from the university. Where's the meat? Now basically, we were the, shall we say, the parent. They moved in, and all of a sudden we didn't need the parent anymore. That's the opinion of a lot of people that used to go to that Country Kitchen.
Is that the where's the food? Is it where's the food?
Yeah, something of that nature.
Yeah. That sometimes happens when universities pop in and pop out and want to do research projects on food visits, which is what
Yeah,
happens.
I'd like to see that come back.
Okay. We have lots of opportunity to open up the kitchens again, because both of our sites have great kitchens. So I would like to see that as well as part of a social recreation program. I think there's a very good chance that that's going to happen. And I'll pass that information on to our program developers as well.
We have a question over
Congratulations, actually. This is a big turnaround, really. For an area that's been underserviced for so long,
Yes.
it's all of a sudden, this is a huge expansion. Especially when it comes to transportation charges,
Yeah, again, that's like, not in camera. It's in camera. But yeah.
I mean, you're knocking down the price of transportation
Yes.
for people out here, and transportation is the number one issue.
Absolutely is.
You can get stuck in your house and you can't go anywhere.
You got it.
The other question I had about it was, you talked about Arnprior and Renfrew. Is this part of what this hub is supposed to service, is to move more up the valley?
No, I don't think so. I think what I was referring to there, depending on the funding though, if there's health funding for, let's say down the road there is an adult day program which is funded by the LIN. The way that a person would be referred to an adult day program, and there was one here, it could happen that you would have Renfrew or Arnprior come here. Do I anticipate that? No. Arnprior's got their stuff going on, Renfrew's got their stuff going on. But what I think, what it does do is it's a little bit more fluidity to the barriers and the boundaries that we work with.
Are you taking away from Arnprior? Because Arnprior really is where people go now for their services when they reach a certain age, whether it's the adult day program or...
So I did do a little bit of research on that. I asked the question of how many seniors from West Carleton are accessing the Grove? One, sometimes. Which leads me to the question, like, so where's everybody going? Or are
I know
they?
a lot of people that come from here or West Carleton Carlton that are in the group.
And,
So I
and
don't know how you can say one. You talking about
accessing the day program.
Okay.
Accessing the day program. The home, we will never replace a home here. But in terms of actual services and accessing the hospital, we want to drop hospital admission.
I guess what I'm raising here is an integration because a lot of the residents around here actually are in seniors' retirement facilities in Arnprior. And it'd be nice to be able to have transportation for them to come from there out to here, whether it's a seniors club or whether it's to church or other things, because, you know, once they go into Arnprior, they sort of feel that that's
This is for their community.
Absolutely. You know, I would love to have that conversation with you because I think that's really important. To make sure that if there are people who identify themselves as community members here, that they have access to those services. Yeah.
I think Nancy, you have a question?
And do you know what days would be used for the programs? And how could we expect our hall to change in appearance?
So I'll answer your second question first. We are not making any alterations to your space unless they are slight improvements. We had sort of talked with Ken about installing air conditioning. And getting funding for that, right? So the plan is to do that, and there was a little lip on the ramp outside that we wanted to. So we wanted to ensure that the spaces that we were using were not going to be changed for the users, you guys who own that space. So if there are alterations, it would be done just to change comfort levels. There may be couches that are purchased, so there might be couches. I think that my program staff was very, very interested in your loft and would just like to put some computers in there. So in terms of changes to the space, I don't think you can anticipate much at all, except that it might be more comfortable maybe.
Well, I'm just wondering because sometimes we do have a couple of people, there's a yoga program that runs, and then, because we're always clearing off all our tables and making the space open for the yoga program, and I'm just wondering if furniture or whatever is going to come in, how is that going to?
Yeah, again, the hope is to really not impact what goes on here when we're not here.
And about days, do you know?
Don't know the days yet. That is left on the desk for my program creators, the developers that are working on that. I'm not entirely sure. It will really depend on what you already have in the building, and likewise for Constance Bay. We're hoping to do 2 days back to back. Oh, that would be, I think, a preference, is to have 2 days back to back.
I think Toby has a question.
I have 2 points I picked up on when you were speaking. So the first one was the social and how you talked about how the social aspect is really important for community building. I completely agree. And I wondered if there was a thought in place or a plan in place to kind of connect seniors and your shuttle program to free events that happen in the community that they can go to outside of your day program. For example, like when the men's choir is here, there's no admission to that, and you can hook up your seniors who would come to this, so you could fill a bus full of people and bring them here and sit them down, and it's something that they would enjoy. Do you think that that's something that you guys would work out eventually?
Absolutely. So one of the partnerships that we have developed is between our service coordinators, which are basically here to do information and referral. So if you come in and say, I'd like to know about energy assistance, or I'd like to know where I can go to do 3 things, they will know. So they will be that person in the community who has that information and can absolutely connect to that. The second thing, now I lost it. There was something else that you mentioned. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
It'll come to you.
It'll come to me. But yeah, so the idea is to have one staff person here who does that connection, so that it will be universal.
And we'll be able to feed that person information.
Absolutely.
One of the things that we do here as a congregation is that, I'm a big proprietor of no admission events because I don't ever want anybody to show up to an event and not be able to participate because they can't afford themselves and their children. And so, we did a birdhouse building workshop, and we had new families in the community that came out and they said, if we had paid for it, we probably would have been here, but because it's free, it was amazing.
Yeah. So I remember what I was going to say. The partnership that we're developing with the community paramedic program at West Carleton Family Health Team will also, they've got 3 community paramedics. I don't know if everybody knows about that program, but basically what it is patients of the West Carleton Family Health Team who are very high needs and very isolated have access to a community paramedic that will come to their home and take care of basic needs. That goes for, blood sugar test or blood pressure test, or, there's a piece of carpet that you're going to trip on, so I'm going to cut it. So it's a very, very wide spectrum of work that they do. We are working with them to connect our staff people with those 3 paramedics so that we have a real understanding of who needs what exactly, where the free opportunities are, where can we connect people to social recreation. So that is definitely an avenue for those types of opportunities.
Okay, we have one more question, Helen.
Yeah, Julie, I'm really excited and happy to see this happening. I wish it had happened 3 or 4 years ago when my mother was living with us. We had to put her in retirement visits because it was simply stressful day by day to be looking after her.
And how old is she now?
She's 100 now. Yeah, she lived in her own home until she was 96.
Wow.
Looking after everything herself, and she couldn't anymore. Anyway, yeah, so this is very exciting. One thing I think needs to be considered is the introvert senior who doesn't feel comfortable being out in a group
Absolutely.
and would be more happy having someone come and visit them at home.
That's the objective of the Community Helpers, that project, to get, we almost want to match seniors with trained folks who can do that. Very similar to pastoral care that way, going in and having that relationship even with those tough cookies that I mentioned before. For that reason, because even that one social connection can change somebody's
Or
health.
somebody whose health is not good. And I have one other request of the maintenance crew, something that even us younger seniors use is help with cleaning loose spots.
That was mentioned. We're getting insurance for that.
Driving on to our 2-story houses for years, and this, he just had to do that for us.
Okay, we have one question. Dave, back here.
Julie, about your transportation. Now, you're going to have a van, of course. Now, people are going to have to, if they're going to an appointment, they got to register with you at the time of your appointment. Now, having said that, out here, I know I'm president of the Fitzroy Seniors. By the way, it starts on Tuesday. We need more. Anyway, you can run into a problem with if you're going to do from Fitzroy to Carrick or Fitzroy into the hospitals in town.
As in
You can have them at the same time.
Yeah.
Now, how's that going to work?
It's a really good thing.
The furthest person could be going to the general,
Yeah.
and the nearest person could be going to Carrick.
So I would see that it can't fall
I'm just
over.
thinking of time here, you know what I mean? It's-
Yeah. So it's a good thing I don't do planning and logistics because I don't know how.
Well,
But they would do it with probably a volunteer driver. So Steve would pick up Margaret and John would pick up Jim, and so it would be done
So
through
you
the
wouldn't be
volunteer
doing it in the
driver.
van?
Not necessarily, no.
No, because the van would be going to,
Yeah.
either
The van, honestly, I don't know how they plan to operate those transportation pieces. I do know that they operate differently. But for one-offs, even for, say, a regular dialysis appointment,
Yeah.
somebody could book that for the next 6 months, and they have a volunteer
They
driver.
booked that here even with paratransport,
Mhm.
because they've done it in Constance Bay, that paratransport come out there to pick up an individual I know who is on dialysis, and because it's a regular 3-day a week, then they're okay with that. But other than that, as far as paratransport is concerned, it's a hit and miss.
Mhm.
So now that you're having that, that's the only thing I could see you running into.
Yeah. Well, right now, we have nobody using the transportation system.
Sorry?
We have nobody using it from out here.
Well,
Very, very few.
Let me tell you, having it's too bad my counterpart from Constance Bay is in here, because when you move down to Constance Bay, you're going to be busy.
We hope you're right.
Oh, you will be.
Yeah.
It's
So-
just the way the community is set up, that's all.
But so the way I see that happening, so again, it's a good thing it's not me because I can't organize that that level of, I would even like to see a change to the way people book their rides, sort of online. I know that the internet is spotty out here, but having an online opportunity to link and to book that way would be really a preference, so we're going that way. I'm also pushing that we are not working from 8 to 4, that we're playing with some of the time frames, and that, if it turns out that we have, double or triple increase in call volume from here.
It's a service that's well needed, and
Yes.
I tell you, you'll have some growing pains, but I know I have some members that have used the service from our prior, and they.
So bear with us through our growing pains.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Bear with us through our growing pains.
Oh, yes.
One last question.
One quick question, and I think it's pretty crucial, Julie, and that is that the Western Resort Center its failing, basically, I think, has been communications.
Yep.
What makes us believe that you're going to get the message out on a constant basis into these communities to make sure people even realize these resources are available?
It's a good question. I think, so there's two answers. One, our services typically don't get accessed by people until they're in crisis anyway. So that's our experience. By the time they're calling us, it's because they are done. And that is the case for nearly all of our services. But I think that having a presence out here will change the visibility piece. I agree that the communications has been a challenge. We are using our friend Andy from Constance Bay, some of his expertise. We're trying to use the Peeper, we're trying to use Eli a little bit more. We hope that having the hubs here will facilitate some of that engagement and word of mouth, and I often say to people that volunteering can almost just be that championing and word of mouth. That's how it works out here, and you know it. So providing good service, I think, will ultimately. But I agree with you, and everybody at our center would say communications has been a challenge. So, agree, and we hope to do better.
May I just interject, though, that what we're trying to do as well is to work with the local community associations in Gladden, Kimburn, and here in Fitzroy. And Ken and myself, we're talking with the leadership of these groups, and they're very excited about what's happening. People happen to be on vacation right now, so they're not here, able to be with us. But they are the eyes and ears in communities that would be in what we would call our catchment area. And so we see this as a way of raising the consciousness as to what actually is going to be offered here. So we're working to make this a broad appeal in terms of what people know about what is happening